They say Saturn is just another planet, a massive sphere of gas with its iconic rings, slowly drifting to the cold vacuum of space. But what if I told you Saturn is not what it seems? What if the celestial giant, long revered and feared, is not merely a planet, but a prison not made of bars or stone, but frequency, illusion, and control, a prison for souls. This isn't science fiction. This is ancient truth, buried under layers of mythology, encoded in sacred texts, whispered by mystics, and feared by those who know. Saturn has always held a unique place in the collective human psyche. The Romans named it after the god of time and decay, Cronus. The Greeks feared him as a devourer of his own children. The Hebrews associated him with Satan. Cultures across time and geography, who never met, who never spoke, saw Saturn not as a source of life, but as a gateway to limitation, karma, and control. But why? Why has Saturn, of all the planets, been cloaked in such dread? Why does its symbolism echo with bondage, sacrifice, and suffering? In today's video, we journey deep into the mystery of Saturn, not the planet described by astrophysicists, but the Saturn of esoteric tradition, hidden knowledge, and ancient cosmology. You'll discover why some believe Saturn is the architect of this reality, the source of time itself, and the warden of a matrix designed to trap consciousness in an endless loop of reincarnation and karma. We'll unravel the clues left in ancient texts and symbols, reveal the secret link between Saturn and the elite power structures that govern our world, and explore the startling theory that Saturn is not only a prison, but a test of awareness, a challenge of awakening. So stay with me, because once you peer behind Saturn's mask, you'll never see reality the same way again. To understand the deeper truth behind Saturn, we must first step back, not just in time, but in consciousness. Before telescopes, before physics textbooks, Saturn was not a rock in the sky. It was a god, a force, a presence that loomed large in the night, and larger still in the midst of humankind. In ancient Mesopotamia, Saturn was known as Ninurta, a deity associated with agriculture, law, and war. To the Egyptians, it was linked to Seth, the chaotic brother of Osiris, bringer of destruction and renewal. The Greeks called it Cronus, the devourer of his own children, fearing a prophecy that one of them would overthrow him. And in Rome, he became Saturnus, the god of time, harvest, and decay. Why did so many cultures associate Saturn with cycles of time, suffering, and sacrifice? The answer lies not in coincidence, but an archetype. Saturn, in the esoteric tradition, is not just a celestial body. It is the archetype of limitation. It governs the boundaries of our physical world. Time, death, karma, discipline. It is the planet of consequence, the celestial judge. The ancients viewed the heavens as a reflection of divine order. The 7 classical planets, Sun, Moon, Mercury, Venus, Mars, Jupiter, and Saturn, were not just orbs. They were steps in a cosmic ladder of initiation. And Saturn was the outermost gatekeeper, the final threshold. Beyond Saturn lay the realm of the fixed stars, the divine, the eternal. Within it, the material world in all its chains. In the mystery schools of Egypt and Greece, Saturn was a planet of initiation. Only those who mastered its trials, discipline, detachment, and inner alchemy could ascend beyond its grip. In Hermeticism, Saturn's glyph, the sickle, was a symbol of harvest, but also of death. It was said that Saturn teaches the hardest lessons, but the most necessary for the soul's evolution. But Saturn's influence didn't end with myth. In Kabbalah, Saturn corresponds to Bina, the sapphire of understanding, structure, and restriction. It is a divine mother, but also the mother of form and structure, of prison if misunderstood. In astrology, Saturn rules Capricorn and Aquarius, both tied to system structure, order, but also rebellion. This duality reveals its paradoxical nature. It binds, but also tests. It limits, but it also defines a path to mastery. Some ancient Gnostics took it further. They believed that the material world was a trap, crafted by archons, cosmic jailers who served a false god, a demiurge. And Saturn, they said, was their throne. In Vedic astrology, Saturn, Shani, is feared and revered. He brings hardship, but also the rewards of righteous endurance. He delays, but never denies. Again, the theme emerges, suffering not as punishment, but as a crucible. But what if suffering is no longer a path to wisdom, but a mechanism of control? What if the sacred role of Saturn has been hijacked, its teachings distorted to keep souls trapped rather than liberated? In ancient temples, Saturn was worshipped with solemn rites, blood, sacrifices, rituals of binding. Secret societies today still honor Saturn, though not openly. Black cubes, Saturnian rings, hidden symbology embedded in logos, robes, architecture, all points to a deeper truth, hidden in plain sight. Saturn is not forgotten. Saturn is revered by those who understand its true power, or perhaps by those who use that power to keep humanity asleep. In this light, the mythology of Saturn becomes not just symbolic, but literal, a warning encoded into our very stories. And now, as we approach the heart of this video, we will dive into the most unsettling question of all. What if Saturn is not just a god of limitation, but the architect of the soul's imprisonment? Let us begin with a bold premise. Saturn is not a planet in the way you've been told. It's a frequency, a system, a mechanism embedded within the fabric of our reality. And its purpose? To regulate the reincarnation cycle and keep souls bound in the material plane. This idea might seem outrageous at first, but remember, truth often hides behind a veil of ridicule. In the ancient mystery traditions, it was believed that reality is not just physical, it is vibrational. Everything that exists is a form of energy, oscillating at a certain frequency. Your body, your thoughts, your emotions, all have their own vibrational signature. Planets, too, were not just spheres of matter, but emitters of frequency, influencing life not by gravity alone, but by subtle energy. And Saturn? Saturn emits the densest, most constricting frequency of them all. Modern science confirms that Saturn is unique among the planets. Its north pole houses a perfectly shaped hexagon, an unnatural, persistent geometric structure within its atmosphere. No other planet displays this. NASA's own data reveals that this hexagon is a standing wave, a frequency locked in place. But why? What sustains it? What is its purpose? Some esoteric researchers propose that this hexagon is not just a curiosity, but a signal, a beacon broadcasting a frequency that shapes human consciousness, a vibrational grid, synchronized with the moon and the earth, reinforcing a false reality, a matrix. They suggest that Saturn, in tandem with the moon, creates a feedback loop that maintains the illusion of separation, fear, and limitation. Think of it as a cosmic projector. Saturn is a transmitter, the moon the receiver and amplifier, and Earth the stage. What we perceive as reality is a result of this projected signal. The illusion of linear time, the illusion of death, the illusion of karma as a never-ending wheel, all embedded within the frequency range defined by Saturn. Ancient myths reinforce this notion. In Gnostic cosmology, the demiurge, the false creator god who traps souls in the material world, was often associated with Saturn. The archons, his minions, feed on the psychic energy of fear, trauma, and suffering. They cannot create. They can only distort. And their prison? It is not made of stone. It is made of perception. Saturn is the warden. Time is his chain. Karma is the lock. In this view, reincarnation is not a soul's journey of learning, but trap. A loop where the memory of the soul is wiped clean with each birth, forcing it to start over and over again under the illusion of growth while never truly escaping the cycle. You're told to do better next time. But who set the rules? Who benefits from the suffering, the forgetting? Consider this metaphor. Imagine a video game in which every time you fail, your memory is wiped and you begin again, not knowing the rules, not knowing who you are, only told by unseen voices that you must improve, obey, strive. But what if the game is rigged? What if the point is not to win, but to keep you playing? That's the Saturnian trap. And this may explain why Saturn is so deeply embedded in the symbolism of control. Judges wear black robes, Saturn's color. The black cube appears in Mecca, in Jewish tefillin, in corporate logos, in secret society rituals. It is Saturn's shape, compression, finality, limitation. Even the Roman god Saturn held a scythe. He harvested time. He harvested life. The control system, they say, is not just external, it is internal. Saturn's frequency is within us. It's the voice that says, You are not enough. The force that binds you to guilt, shame, regret. The invisible cage of time, mortality, and fate. And yet there's a way out. But to escape the prison, you must first see its walls. Once you begin to see the walls of Saturnian prison, not of stone, but perception, a deeper truth begins to reveal itself. The bars that hold the soul captive are built not by force, but by consent. Not conscious consent, but unconscious agreement to a system you were born into, told to obey, and never taught to question. Let us return to the architecture of this prison. Saturn governs time, linear time, cause and effect, the ticking of the cosmic clock. And in doing so, it governs karma, not just a spiritual consequence, but as a binding contract, an invisible agreement your soul signs before entry. You are born, you forget, and now you are told you must earn your liberation by repaying debts you don't remember incurring. This is not justice. This is a rigged game. And just like any prison, it has enforcers. The archons, those parasitic intelligences described in the Gnostic Gospels, are said to manipulate human thought through fear, distraction, and illusion. They do not want you to wake up. They need your suffering to sustain their system, like wardens who feed on the despair of their inmates. Now consider this. If Saturn is a generator of the prison frequency, then the moon may act as its relay station, modulating and projecting that signal directly into Earth's electromagnetic field. Some researchers, like Davidic, have argued that the moon is not a natural satellite at all, but an artificial construct, perhaps even hollow, placed intentionally in orbit to serve as part of this soul-trapping mechanism. While mainstream science scoffs at such ideas, the questions persist. Why is the moon the perfect size to cause total eclipses? Why does it ring like a bell when struck? Why is its rotation so perfectly synchronous that we never see the far side? Perhaps because it was engineered. Now add to this the symbolism around Saturn used by earthly institutions of power. The six-pointed star, two interlocking triangles, is not just a Star of David, but also a 2D representation of the three-dimensional hexagon, the hexagon on Saturn's pole. The black cube, Saturn's cube, appears again and again in religion, in science, in the corporate world, a shape of compression, of reduction, a soul condensed into form. Even artificial intelligence and transhumanism bears Saturn's mark. Control, mechanization, detachment from nature, the push toward cold logic over human emotion, data over intuition, all Saturnian signatures, when corrupted. But here lies the paradox. Saturn is not inherently evil. It is the archetype of form, of law, of reality itself. In its balanced state, Saturn provides a framework for mastery, discipline, focus, wisdom through hardship. But corrupted Saturn hijacked, is tyranny, imprisonment, endless loops of incarnation with no escape. The ancient initiates knew this. In Egyptian mystery schools, Saturn's influence had to be transcended in order to attain higher initiation. In Greek philosophy, the soul passed through the spheres of the planets on its way to enlightenment, Saturn being the last and greatest challenge before entering the realm of the divine. This is where most souls are caught. They fear judgment. They believe they are unworthy. And so they return again and again, seeking redemption in a system designed to deny it, until they realize the truth. The door is not locked. The chains are not real. It is perception, the great illusion, that holds us here. When you awaken to this, when you see Saturn not as a god to be feared but a construct to be understood, something shifts. The cycle of karma loosens, the veil thins, and the soul begins to remember who was before time, before guilt, before the lie of limitation. But awareness is not enough. You must act on it. You must choose to step out of the loop. And that is what we'll explore in the next section, how to break the frequency and walk free. That if Saturn is a prison, then knowledge is your key. But escape is not an act of rebellion. It is an act of remembrance. To liberate yourself from the Saturnian frequency, you must stop feeding it. You must reclaim your sovereignty, not just as a human being, but as an eternal consciousness. This journey begins within. 1. Detach from the illusion of time. Saturn governs linear time, the past that haunts you, the future that traps you in anxiety. This artificial flow keeps you locked in fear, shame, and regret. To free yourself, Practice present moment awareness. Every time your mind races to the should have or the what if, return to your breath. Ask, where am I right now? The power lies here, not in yesterday's karma or tomorrow's fears. Try this simple technique. Time dissolution meditation. Sit in silence. Close your eyes. Breathe deeply. With each exhale, say inwardly, now. Visualize the timeline of your life dissolving, leaving only this moment. Repeat until the illusion fades. With consistency, this resets the nervous system and attunes your frequency from Saturn's linear grip. 2. Break the contracts you didn't know you signed. You may have unconsciously agreed to karmic cycles, soul contracts, or programs of suffering. But every contract can be renegotiated. Create a ritual, sacred and symbolic. Light a candle. Speak aloud with full intent. I revoke all soul contracts, karmic agreements, and energetic bindings that no longer serve my highest evolution. I reclaim my divine sovereignty. I choose truth. I choose freedom. Do this as often as needed. The power lies not in the words, but in conviction behind them. 3. Reclaim your vibration. Saturn operates on a dense frequency. Fear, guilt, limitation. To rise above it, you must change your frequency. Music, movement, breath work, and high vibration foods shift your energetic signature. So does truthful self-expression. Every time you deny your voice, you feed the system. Every time you speak your truth, even softly, you weaken its hold. Practice vibrational hygiene. Spend time in nature. Avoid consuming media rooted in fear, control, and judgment. You are a tuning fork. Guard what you resonate with. 4. Remember who you are. You are not your trauma. You are not your karma. You are not your identity, nationality, or history. You are consciousness. Infinite. Unbound. Start each day with remembrance. I am not here to serve a system. I am here to awaken. Journaling, dream recall, and contemplative prayer can reconnect you with your soul's memory. Pay attention to synchronicities. They are the breadcrumbs of awakening. 5. Face the gatekeeper without fear. Saturn is the final test. The gatekeeper at the edge of the material world. And like all great initiations, the only way out is through. Face your fears with awareness, not resistance. Accept hardship not as punishment, but as a fire that forges clarity. When you stop resisting Saturn, you begin to master it. When you stop fearing time, you transcend it. 6. Build your inner temple. Saturn is the architect. Use as blueprint to construct something sacred. Discipline, order, focus. They are not enemies. They are tools once freed from tyranny. Wake with purpose. End your day with reflection. Create ritual. Create structure, not to enslave you, but to elevate you. When you shape your reality with awareness, you reclaim your Saturn energy, and it serves you not to prison. These are not metaphors. These are technologies of consciousness, and the more you practice them, the more the illusion begins to crumble. You'll feel it, a lightness, a sense of watching the world, but not being caught in it. You'll see the patterns play out around you, but you won't react. You'll remember and act from that remembrance. That's liberation. But it doesn't end here. In the next section, we'll return to the beginning and see Saturn not as a curse, but as a hidden catalyst of soul's awakening. So now we return to where we began, not with answers, but with a deeper question. What if Saturn was never meant to be your prison, but your mirror? What if the force that binds is also the force that reveals? That beneath the cold mass of Saturn lies the final gate, not to suffering, but to sovereignty? You've seen how Saturn is portrayed across cultures, as God, judge, architect, and warden. You've learned how its frequency may govern the illusion of time, how it shapes the loop of karma, and how it may act as a broadcast tower for the matrix itself. But most importantly, you've uncovered a path out, not through rebellion, but remembrance. The truth is this: no soul can be trapped unless it forgets what it is, and the Saturnian system thrives only in amnesia. It needs your agreement, your belief in limitation, your devotion to the clock. It needs you to forget that you are eternal. But now you remember. You remember that karma is not your master, but a choice. That time is not a chain, but a tool. That Saturn is not a planet in the sky, but a lesson in disguise. And that lesson is mastery. The ultimate secret? The prison was never Saturn. It was a belief that you were small, separate, and stuck. That you were guilty, broken, or lost. But those are the illusions broadcast through the frequency of fear. And now you step beyond it. So look again at Saturn, not with fear, but with clarity. It is no longer your warden. It is your initiator. And you've passed the test. Now build. Now remember. Now rise. Because this isn't the end of your journey. It's the beginning of true freedom. If this message resonated, share it. Spread the signal that breaks the signal. Like, comment, and subscribe to join others who are waking up to the hidden architecture of reality. And remember, the stars are not just above you. They are within you. You were never meant to serve the system. You were meant to transcend it. Until next time, stay awake, stay sovereign, and stay free.